Podcast Talk. Learn English naturally.
English job interview.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Podcast Hub. I'm John.
And I'm Daniela. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're really excited about this episode.
Today, we're going to do something special. We're going to walk you through everything you need to know to succeed in an English job interview. Whether you're a non-native speaker preparing for your first interview in English or someone looking to polish your interview skills, this episode will help you.
We'll cover common interview questions, the best ways to answer them, important vocabulary and phrases, body language, and we'll even do some mock interview simulations so you can hear what good answers sound like.
And we'll discuss the cultural aspects of interviews in English-speaking countries, because understanding the culture is just as important as knowing the language. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, turn on notifications, and comment below.
Absolutely. So John, let's start with the basics. What's the first thing someone should do when preparing for an English job interview?
Great question. The first step is research. You need to thoroughly research the company, the role, and, if possible, the people who will be interviewing you. This serves two purposes. It helps you answer questions better, and it shows the interviewer that you're genuinely interested.
What specifically should people research about the company?
Look at their website, especially the About Us section. Understand their mission, their values, their products or services. Read recent news articles about the company. Check their social media. Look at employee reviews on sites like Glassdoor.
And for the specific role, make sure you understand the job description inside and out. What are the key responsibilities? What skills are they looking for? What qualifications do they require versus what's just preferred?
Exactly, because you want to tailor your answers to show how you're the perfect fit for this specific role at this specific company.
Now, let's talk about the structure of a typical job interview. What can candidates expect?
Most interviews follow a similar pattern. They usually start with small talk to break the ice. How was your journey here, or did you have any trouble finding us? This is important because it sets the tone.
And even though it's just small talk, the interview has already begun. They're observing your communication skills, your demeanor, your confidence.
Right. Then typically comes the opening question, which is usually some variation of, "Tell me about yourself." This is your opportunity to give your elevator pitch.
We should talk about how to answer this question because so many people struggle with it. What makes a good answer to "tell me about yourself"?
A good answer is concise, relevant, and structured. You're not giving your entire life story. You're giving a professional summary that's relevant to this job. A good structure is present, past, future.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Currently, I'm working as a marketing manager at XYZ Company, where I lead a team of 5 and manage digital campaigns. Previously, I spent 3 years in social media marketing, where I increased engagement by 40%. I'm excited about this opportunity because I want to expand into strategic planning, which is a key part of this role.
Perfect. That's focused, relevant, and connects directly to why you're interested in this position. You're showing where you are, how you got there, and where you want to go.
Exactly. And notice it took about 30 seconds to say. You're not rambling for 5 minutes.
Now let's discuss some of the most common interview questions and how to answer them effectively. One that almost always comes up is, what are your strengths?
This question is an opportunity to sell yourself, but you need to be strategic. Choose strengths that are relevant to the job and always back them up with specific examples.
So instead of just saying, I'm hardworking and organized, you'd say,
one of my key strengths is project management. For example, in my last role, I managed a complex software implementation project with tight deadlines. I created detailed timelines, coordinated with multiple departments, and we completed the project 2 weeks ahead of schedule and under budget.
See how much more powerful that is? You're not just claiming you have a strength, you're proving it with a concrete example.
This is what we call the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. Can you explain this technique, Daniela?
Absolutely. The STAR method is a framework for answering behavioral interview questions. Situation, describe the context. Task, explain what needed to be done. Action, detail what you specifically did. Result, share the outcome, ideally with measurable results.
This is especially important for questions that start with, "Tell me about a time when you." These are behavioral questions, and interviewers love them because past behavior predicts future behavior.
Right. Questions like, tell me about a time you faced a challenge at work, or describe a situation where you had to work with a difficult colleague.
Let's practice one. Daniela, tell me about a time when you had to meet a tight deadline.
Great question. So the situation was that our team had to prepare a major client presentation, and we were given only 3 days instead of the usual 2 weeks. The task was to create a comprehensive marketing strategy with research, creative concepts, and budget projections. My action was to immediately break the project into smaller components, delegate tasks based on team members' strengths, and set up check-in meetings every few hours to track progress. I also stayed late each night to review everything and ensure quality. The result was that we delivered an excellent presentation on time. The client was impressed, and we won a contract worth $200,000.
Excellent answer. You clearly outlined the situation, your specific actions, and the positive result, and you included a measurable outcome, the contract value.
Thank you. Now, let's talk about one of the trickiest questions. What are your weaknesses?
This question makes many candidates nervous because they don't want to disqualify themselves. But here's the key. Everyone has weaknesses. The interviewer knows this. They're not looking for perfection, they're looking for self-awareness and a willingness to improve.
So, how should you answer this question?
Choose a real weakness, not a fake one like "I'm a perfectionist" or "I work too hard." Those answers sound insincere. But choose a weakness that's not critical for the job, and most importantly, explain what you're doing to improve it.
Can you give an example?
I've realized that I sometimes take on too many projects at once because I have difficulty saying no. I've been working on this by being more realistic about my capacity and learning to prioritize more effectively. I've started using project management tools to visualize my workload, which has helped me make better decisions about which projects to accept.
That's a thoughtful answer. You're showing self-awareness, you're being honest, and you're demonstrating that you're actively working to improve.
Exactly. Now, let's discuss another common question. Why do you want to work here, or why are you interested in this position?
This is where your research pays off. You need to show that you've thought specifically about this company and this role, not just that you need any job.
Right. Connect something specific about the company or role to your own goals and values. Maybe you admire their innovative approach. Maybe their mission aligns with your values. Maybe this role offers growth opportunities you're looking for.
And avoid answers that are only about what the company can do for you. Frame it in terms of what you can contribute.
Good point. Instead of, "I want to work here because you offer great benefits and training," say, "I'm excited about this opportunity because I can contribute my expertise in data analysis to help improve your customer insights, and I'd also have the chance to develop my skills in machine learning, which I know is important for this role."
Perfect. Now, let's talk about salary questions. How should candidates handle what are your salary expectations?
This can be tricky. If possible, try to avoid giving a specific number too early. You can say something like, "I'd like to learn more about the responsibilities and expectations for this role before discussing salary. What's the budget range you have in mind for this position?"
That turns the question back to them. But if they insist on a number, you should have a range prepared based on your research.
Yes, research typical salaries for this role in your location using sites like Glassdoor, PayScale, or LinkedIn Salary. Give a range rather than a specific number, and make sure the lower end of your range is still acceptable to you.
You might say, based on my research and my experience level, I'm looking for something in the range of $60,000 to $70,000, but I'm flexible depending on the total compensation package.
That total compensation package is important because it includes benefits, not just salary.
Exactly. Now let's discuss questions that candidates should ask the interviewer. At the end of most interviews, they'll ask, "Do you have any questions for us?" What's important about this moment?
This is crucial. Never say, "No, I don't have any questions." That suggests you're not really interested or you haven't thought deeply about the role. Always have questions prepared.
What makes a good question to ask?
Good questions show that you're thinking about how you will succeed in the role, that you're interested in the company's future, and that you've done your research. For example, what does success look like in this role after 6 months? Or, what are the biggest challenges facing the team right now?
Those are excellent. You could also ask about company culture. Can you describe the team I'd be working with? Or how would you describe the company culture here?
And asking about next steps is always appropriate. What are the next steps in the interview process? This shows you're organized and interested in moving forward.
Now let's talk about body language and nonverbal communication. This is so important, especially in video interviews, which are common now.
Absolutely. First impressions are formed in seconds, and much of that is based on nonverbal cues. Let's start with eye contact. In Western business culture, good eye contact shows confidence and honesty.
But not too intense. You don't want to stare. A good rule is to maintain eye contact about 60 to 70% of the time, looking away occasionally to think or process information.
Right. Posture is also important. Sit up straight, but not rigidly. Lean slightly forward to show engagement. Avoid slouching, crossing your arms, or fidgeting.
For video interviews, make sure you're looking at the camera when speaking, not at the screen. This simulates eye contact. And check your background. It should be clean and professional.
Absolutely. Test your technology beforehand. Check your audio, video, internet connection. Have a backup plan in case something goes wrong.
Now let's talk about your voice and speaking style. What should candidates keep in mind?
Speak clearly and at a moderate pace. When people are nervous, they tend to speak too quickly. Take your time. It's okay to pause and think before answering.
And vary your tone. Monotone speech is boring and makes you seem less engaged. Show enthusiasm through your voice. Smile while you talk, which actually affects your tone even over the phone.
And if you don't understand a question, it's perfectly fine to ask for a clarification. You can say, "That's a great question. Just to make sure I understand correctly, are you asking about?" This is better than guessing at what they mean.
Now, let's do a mock interview segment. I'll play the interviewer, and John, you'll be the candidate. This will help our listeners hear what a good interview sounds like. Ready?
Ready.
Good morning, John. Thanks for coming in today. How was your journey here?
Good morning, Daniela. Thanks for having me. The journey was smooth. I left a bit early to make sure I'd arrived on time, so I actually had a few minutes to grab a coffee and review my notes.
Great. I'm glad you found us easily. So let's start. Can you tell me about yourself?
Certainly. I'm currently a senior software engineer at Tech Solutions, where I've been for the past 3 years. I specialize in back-end development, primarily working with Python and cloud infrastructure. I lead a small team, and we've successfully migrated several legacy systems to microservices architecture, which improves system performance by 35%. Before that, I spent 2 years as a junior developer at a startup, which gave me great experience working in a fast-paced, agile environment. I'm interested in this position because I'm looking to take on more architectural responsibility, and I'm impressed by the innovative projects your company is working on, particularly in AI space.
That's a great background. Why are you interested in leaving your current position?
I've really enjoyed my time at Tech Solutions and have learned a lot, but I've reached a point where I'm ready for new challenges. I'm particularly interested in working on larger scale systems and being involved in architectural decisions from the ground up. Your company's commitment to open source contributions aligns with my values.
Can you tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult technical problem?
Absolutely. About 6 months ago, we were experiencing intermittent database timeouts that were affecting our main application. The situation was critical because it was impacting customer transactions. The task was to identify and fix the root cause quickly. I started by analyzing our monitoring logs and discovered that certain queries were causing locks during peak traffic times. My action was to optimize those queries, implement query caching, and work with the database team to adjust our indexing strategy. I also set up better monitoring to catch similar issues earlier. The result was that we eliminated the timeouts completely and actually improved overall response time by 25%. This also taught me the importance of proactive monitoring.
Excellent. Now, what would you say is your greatest weakness?
I've found that sometimes I can get too focused on technical perfection and spend too much time optimizing code when the current solution is already sufficient. I've been working on this by learning to better evaluate when optimization is truly necessary versus when it's just nice to have. I've started using the good enough for now principle more often and focusing on delivering value quickly, then iterating based on actual performance metrics rather than theoretical improvements. This has made me more pragmatic and a better team player.
That's very self-aware. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see myself in a senior technical leadership role, possibly as a principal engineer or technical architect. I want to be someone who not only writes code, but also shapes technical strategy and mentors other engineers. I'm particularly interested in developing expertise in distributed systems and AI infrastructure. I see this role as an important step in that direction, as it would give me exposure to larger-scale architectural decisions and the opportunity to work with cutting-edge technology.
Great. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I have a few. First, what does success look like in this role during the first 6 months? And second, can you tell me about the team I'd be working with? What's the team structure and dynamic like? Finally, what are the biggest technical challenges the team is currently facing?
Excellent questions. All right, that concludes our mock interview. What do you think, John? How did you feel about those answers?
I think they followed the principles we discussed: specific examples, STAR method, connecting answers to the role and company, and showing self-awareness. And for our listeners, notice how I stated positive even when discussing why I'm leaving my current job. Never badmouth your current or previous employers.
That's such an important point. Always frame things positively. Instead of, my current job is boring or my boss is difficult, focus on what you're looking for in your next role.
Exactly. Now let's talk about some phrases and expressions that are useful in interviews. Having these in your toolkit can make you sound more professional and confident.
Great idea. Let's start with transitions and phrases for buying yourself thinking time. You can say, "That's an interesting question. Let me think about that for a moment." Or, "Let me give you a specific example." Or, "To give you some context."
These phrases are natural and give you a few seconds to organize your thoughts. You can also use "in my experience" or "from my perspective" to introduce your answers.
For expressing enthusiasm about the role, you might say, "I'm really excited about the opportunity to," or "What particularly attracts me to this role is," or "I'm passionate about."
And when discussing achievements, use action verbs. Instead of "I was responsible for," say "I led," "I developed," "I implemented," "I achieved," "I increased," "I reduced."
These are more powerful and show that you took initiative. Also, when discussing teamwork, you can say, "I collaborated with," "I partnered with," "I worked closely with." Now let's discuss phone interviews and video interviews specifically, since these are increasingly common.
For phone interviews, make sure you're in a quiet location with good reception. Have your resume, the job description, and your notes in front of you. Stand up while talking. It actually affects your voice quality and energy.
For video interviews, test everything beforehand. Make sure your camera is at eye level, not looking up or down at you. Have good lighting, ideally natural light from a window or a lamp in front of you, not behind you.
Eliminate distractions. Close other applications, silence your phone, let others in your house know you're interviewing. Look at the camera, not at yourself on the screen.
And have a glass of water nearby in case your mouth gets dry. It's okay to take a sip if needed.
Now let's talk about different types of interviews. There are one-on-one interviews, panel interviews, group interviews, and case interviews. What should candidates know about each?
Panel interviews can be intimidating because you're facing multiple interviewers. The key is to make eye contact with each person as you speak, not just the person who asked the question. Address the whole panel.
For group interviews, where multiple candidates are interviewed together, you need to stand out while still being collaborative. Contribute meaningfully to discussions, but don't dominate. Show leadership, but also teamwork.
Case interviews are common in consulting and some business roles. You're given a business problem and asked to work through it. They're evaluating your analytical thinking, problem-solving approach, and communication.
For case interviews, think out loud. Walk them through your thought process. Ask clarifying questions. Structure your approach. Like,
I'd analyze this by looking at three areas: market conditions, internal capabilities, and competitive landscape.
Now let's discuss cultural differences in interview styles. Interviews in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia can have different expectations.
Generally, American interviews tend to be more informal and conversational. Small talk is common, and there's an expectation that you'll be confident and enthusiastic about selling yourself.
British interviews might be slightly more reserved and formal. The self-promotion might be more subtle. Australian interviews tend to value cultural fit and personality alongside qualifications.
But these are generalizations. The specific company culture matters more than national culture. A startup in London might be very casual, while a law firm in San Francisco might be very formal.
Now let's address discrimination and inappropriate questions. Unfortunately, in some interviews, you might face questions about age, marital status, religion, or other protected characteristics.
In the US, UK, and many other countries, these questions are illegal. You don't have to answer them. You can politely redirect. "I'm not sure how that relates to the position. Could we discuss my qualifications for the role?"
Or you can answer the underlying concern without giving personal information. If asked, "Do you have children?" they might be worried about your availability. You could say, "I'm fully committed to this role and have no concerns about meeting the time requirements."
Trust your instincts. If the interview feels unprofessional or makes you uncomfortable, that might be a red flag about the company culture.
Now let's discuss salary negotiation briefly, since this often happens after the interview, but is related. What should candidates know?
First, don't negotiate until you have an actual offer. Once you have an offer, it's appropriate to negotiate. Most companies expect some negotiation.
Do your research so you know what's fair for your role, experience, and location. Be prepared to justify your request based on your skills and market rates.
You can say something like, "Thank you so much for the offer. I'm very excited about this opportunity. Based on my research and my experience, I was hoping for a salary in the range of X to Y. Is there flexibility in the offer?"
And remember, you can negotiate other things besides salary: vacation time, flexible working, professional development budget, signing bonus.
Now let's talk about what to do if you don't get the job. How should candidates handle rejection professionally?
First, it's okay to feel disappointed. Job seeking is challenging and rejection is hard, but respond professionally. Send a brief email thanking them for the opportunity and expressing that you'd like to be considered for future positions.
You can also ask for feedback. "I appreciate you considering me for this role. If you have any feedback on how I can improve for future interviews, I'd be grateful to hear it."
Not all companies will provide feedback, but some will, and it can be valuable information for improving your interviewing skills.
And keep in touch professionally. If you really wanted to work for that company, connect on LinkedIn, follow their updates. Sometimes positions open up later and you'll be remembered as a professional, interested candidate.
Now, as we wrap up, let's summarize the key points for succeeding in an English job interview.
First, preparation is crucial. Research the company and role thoroughly. Prepare specific examples using the STAR method. Practice your answers, but don't memorize them word for word.
Second, focus on communication. Speak clearly, maintain good body language, show enthusiasm, and engage in active listening. It's not just about answering questions, it's about having a professional conversation.
Third, be yourself. Authenticity matters. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. The right job is one where you're a good fit, and that requires honesty about who you are and what you bring.
Fourth, follow up professionally. Send that thank you email, respond promptly to any communication, and maintain professional etiquette throughout the process.
And finally, remember that interviewing is a skill that improves with practice. Even if your English isn't perfect, confidence, preparation, and genuine interest can make a huge difference.
Every interview is a learning experience. Even if you don't get the job, you've gained valuable practice and feedback that will help you in the next interview.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us today on English Podcast Hub. We hope this episode has given you the tools and confidence to ace your next English job interview.
Remember, you've got this. Preparation plus confidence equals success.
If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with anyone who might be preparing for job interviews in English.
Good luck with your interviews, everyone.
Until next time, stay confident and keep practicing.